you, Daniel, for that kind introduction, and thank you, Mr. Yutaka Yamada, for your opening remarks and really encouraging us to find peace within ourselves and then bring that peace in our relationships. And welcome to the other speakers, Mr. Elvis Kumar from Fiji, and Ms. Tahiri Talaina from Samoa, and Mr. Alfred Louis Romo from Solomon Islands. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to sharing with you my presentation this morning. This afternoon, actually. I have to get the right time zones. I'm in Manila, but it's still afternoon. I'm the international chairman of the Youth and Students for Peace, as was mentioned. And our webinar today is in honor of the International Day of Peace. And we're grateful for our speakers who have taken their time, and also for the audience that is here being with us today. It's a pleasure to be together. Mr. Yamada mentioned the Rally of Hope. I'll mention it again at the end, but this is, you can begin to see the level of dignitaries that are going to be there, heads of state, vice presidents of America, and many, many world leaders. This is the United Nations website on today's event, International Day of Peace, September 21. Actually, all of you are giving me a grand birthday gift. Tomorrow is my birthday, so this is the best gift you could give me. I'd like to read from the United Nations website. This year, it has been clearer than ever that we are not each other's enemy. Rather, our common enemy is a tireless virus that threatens our health, security, and very way of life. COVID-19 has thrown our world into turmoil and forcibly reminded us that what happens in one part of our planet can impact people everywhere. I want to underline the second sentence. Rather, our common enemy is a tireless virus that threatens our health, security, and very way of life. That is true, but it's only half true. Because there is another virus that is more powerful, more invisible, and threatens much more than, this COVID virus. The COVID virus is there, and surely we will overcome it someday. There's no doubt about that with science and with vaccine, maybe within the coming months. But there is another virus that is more powerful, more dangerous than the COVID virus, and that is the clash of values. And we see that clash of values expressed, everybody sees it, between America and China right now. And it's not just the clash of nations, but underlying this is a clash of values. Let me explain so that we can understand where we go from here. Our theme is shaping peace. To shape something means to mold it, to form, to build, or to create. You're putting creativity into whatever you make. Well, let's take an example. Before you shape an airplane, you need to know the principle of aerodynamics, because you have to follow those principles for the airplane to fly. Well, it's the same thing with peace. Shaping peace together. It's not just shaping peace, but together. What does that mean? Before you shape peace, before you create, build, or mold peace, we all need to know the principles of peace, and we have to agree on those principles. Well, let's take an example. If you are molding, shaping, or building a house, you have to agree on the principles of architecture. Otherwise, you won't be able to do that. You have to have a common base of agreement. If you want to mold or shape or build an electric circuit board, well, you need to know the principle of electricity. And if you want to mold or build a bridge, you need to know the principle of civil engineering. So we need to know the principles of peace. Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, put it very clearly. Universal values are also more acutely needed in this age of globalization than ever before. Why? Can you imagine if you were an engineer and you had different measuring standards and somebody said 1 foot is 12 inches and no, 1 foot is 24 inches. Well, you couldn't build anything. You would just be conflicting. So in order to build or shape or mold something, you need a common set of standards that you agree on. Dennis Prager from an internet phenomenon recently in Prager University said, without shared values, how does a society survive? Well, it doesn't, because there will be clash rather than cooperation. There will be conflict rather than harmony and creativity. So the moral values that we're talking about are not a preference. It's an ought, something you should do. It's not a favorite. The moral obligation, the moral values are something that help us build relationships and contracts. And in the business world or in any world, in the mechanics or every world, they have them. It's not, what is your favorite ice cream, chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? We're not talking like that. It's much different. It's not an option. It's an obligation. And that's what we need to understand, that difference. Definition, moral values. Moral values are the standards of good and evil, which govern an individual's behavior and choices. And it governs a family, and it governs a society and a nation. And if we want to cooperate, we need a common set of moral values, because these moral values will determine what is good and what is evil. And goodness we will want to pursue, and evil we will want to get rid of, naturally. In the Bible, we see the story of the Tower of Babel, where, well, there was a conflicting standard of right and wrong, and it's very clear. Let's look at this in Genesis 11, 1 through 9. The people said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves." So why are they building the city? To make a name for themselves. So there is clearly a self-centered motive, a self-centered value that is there within the hearts of the people. But the Lord said, if, as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so that they will not understand each other. God didn't just confuse the language, but there was already a confusion of values. The people had a self-centered value. God's value is living for the sake of others, willing to sacrifice. And as Jesus taught us, even willing to die for the sake of others. Not selfishness, completely the opposite. So there were two sets of values within this one system. And then naturally, if God withdraws, there's no common point for these people. The common point would have been God's values, God's ideals, and that wasn't there. And well, they couldn't continue to work together. So can we find a universal definition of goodness? This is critically important. It is the most important quest that we should invest into. All religions must agree without violating their religious tenets, and it must be found in all disciplines and all fields of study. If we cannot find this universal value, universal definition of goodness, then we cannot cooperate. We will constantly be conflicting and competing with each other. Father Moon put it like this. He said this is the most important value, the very definition of goodness, live for the sake of others. Well, let's see if it's true. Does it apply in other religions? Let's look in the Bible. Jesus said, whoever seeks to gain his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life will preserve it. Well, that's living for the sake of others. If you seek to gain your life and you take, then you lose it, because selfishness, you will lose your friends, you will lose that relationship that you have, even with your own family. But whoever loses his life will preserve it. When you give of yourself, sacrifice, then you preserve your life because you preserve relationships and you can create love between people. Paul said, let no one seek his own good, but the good of his neighbor. Wow. You want to be good? You have to be good to your neighbor, not to yourself. And in Christianity, the image that should be in the heart of every Christian, not only live for the sake of others, but even die for the sake of others, as Jesus did. And then forgive the people that are killing you. This concept, living for others, is found in other religions too. Do not expect in giving any increase. Give without expectation. Live for the sake of others. Every religion teaches this same principle. Allah does not love those who are arrogant and boastful. Wow, that's against God. God is for the sake of others. And when we become selfish, then we separate from God. Buddha, cut the love of yourself and develop the path of peace. If you love yourself, you cannot be peaceful. Yeah, because you won't give. You will sacrifice others for yourself, not yourself for others. And in Hinduism, the sacrifice performed by those who desire no reward. Sacrifice without reward. Live for the sake of others. Desire to give your life, to preserve it. So sacrificing for others is good. This is the very definition of goodness. And Father Moon said this in his autobiography. A true life is a life in which we abandon our private desires and live for the public good. This is a truth taught by all major religious leaders, past, present, East and West. It's true. So you do not need to change your religion to be good. Wow, that's something new, because this principle of living for the sake of others is already in every religion. And it's also in psychology. Sigmund Freud said it's called delayed gratification, an important component of emotional intelligence and maturity. Delay your gratification. Don't be so selfish so quickly. And in The Good Society, Robert Bella, the most profound decisions about justice are not made by individuals, but by individuals thinking on behalf of institutions. The good son thinks on behalf of the family. The patriot thinks on behalf of the nation. Martin Luther King, in the civil rights movement, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So we find this concept that Father Moon coined, live for the sake of others. It's in all religions, it's in psychology, in sociology, in civil rights. It's everywhere. Mother Teresa, give. But give until it hurts. Not just the coins in your pocket when you make a donation, but the dollar bills in your wallet. Yeah. Live for the sake of others. So the question is, if we live for the sake of others, then who is the first other that we should live for the sake of? Where is the paradigm? Where's the model? Where does it begin? Where do we learn it? If we learn it, well, then we can apply it in many areas. But where do we first learn it? The answer? Our parents. Children living for the sake of their parents. That's where we learn to be good. And it's called love. It's called filial piety. And that's why the family is so important. We learn to live for the sake of our parents, and then we become filial sons and daughters, children of filial piety, children who love and honor their parents. As the Bible said, honor your father and mother. Honor them. It's in the Old and in the New Testament, repeatedly. Then your mind and body will be set in the right priority. You will have a public mind, and the mind will dominate the body, the flesh, as it should. Both are necessary, but the dominion of mind over body is critically important, and you will create good character. This will become your moral compass, so that you, as a child, you cannot take your parents everywhere, and your parents can't be with you, especially as you grow up and start to go to school and in society. But you can take the love of your parents in your heart and do nothing to hurt or shame or dishonor your parents. If you have that standard of conscience in your heart, your North Star. And who is your parent ultimately? God is our Father. That needs to be very clear. So Father said the foundation, Father Moon said the foundation of the conscience is goodness itself. So the standard of goodness is the standard of the conscience. This is why we need a value. Our universal values must be unchanging. Everybody has to agree. If we have different standards, then we will have competing values. Culture is not a value of good and evil. Different people have different things to eat, and that's okay. And I like fish, and I like, beef, and I like, chicken. It's okay. But those are not value-based decisions. They're preferences. But here's a value-based decision. Karl Marx, he wrote in Das Kapital, "We therefore," means the communist, "therefore reject every attempt to impose on us any moral dogma whatsoever as an eternal, ultimate, and forever immutable, forever unchanging moral law." We reject the moral authority of heaven, of God. Why? Because they want to control the moral authority. And when they define good and evil, the good are the workers and the evil are the capitalists, so that we can kill the evil people because they're evil and have a clear conscience and kill millions and millions and millions of people. This is why they want to control the definition of good and evil. Picking up on this, Vladimir Lenin. We do not believe in an eternal morality. We repudiate, reject all morality derived from non-humans and non-class concepts. So there, the good and evil was the class struggle that they saw, not between good and evil as God would define or as heaven would define. So they're building towers of Babel in the present day, and they all collapsed, and millions of people died. Father Moon's concept is simple: live for the sake of others. You sacrifice yourself to benefit other people. Don't sacrifice other people to benefit yourself. Don't be selfish. Summary and conclusion. Shaping peace together. The 75th anniversary of the United Nations and our International Day of Peace theme. In summary, it's this simple. The peaceful family is the building block of the kingdom of heaven. This is where peace begins, because it's where we learn the common value of living for others in the family. Parents live for the sake of the children, children for the sake of the parents, husband for the sake of the wife for the sake of the husband, brother for the sake of sister, and sister for brother. We learn to live for others in the family. So all around this Oceania region, this is the Prime Minister of Samoa watching the first Rally of Hope in his home with our national leader, Seti, and two wonderful young ladies that came together. And so the second Rally of Hope is coming. You guys should watch it. And this is a program, again, in Solomon Islands. We had lots of programs there to educate, and we've had many different programs. And this was all of the cabinet members of the Solomon Island went to meet Father and Mother Moon when they were still alive. Our foundation is very, very strong. And this is in Fiji, working together with the late speaker. And more programs recently in Fiji. So you, the three other speakers, you are youth leaders. Get all of your young people. You have lots of people that are working with you. Bring them all together. Have them watch this Rally of Hope the second time. It's on September 27th, next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Korean time. This is the link, www.peacelink.live. Get them together. This is what leaders do, is guide and direct their members. So your leaders of different youth groups, encourage them. Send out the emails. We'll give you the flyers. And even join them together. Have a party. And then afterwards a discussion. Well, what did you learn? And what did these are the speakers that are going to be there. You got President of South Africa, President of Sao Tome, two Vice Presidents of the United States, the President of the European Union. These are not simple people. Your young people come and see this, they will certainly learn something. And even from this region, the Speaker of the House of Cambodia will be there. And the former Speaker of the House of Philippines, Jose de Venecia. And you've got a Lutheran and a Catholic bishop that are going to be there. And pray, please, join together with us this Sunday And let's start to build together a world of peace. Thank you very much, and God bless.